All right, welcome to the fifth and final edition of our Department of Energy webinar series on essential topics that are shaping the future of the built environment. Now, those of you who attend these webinars with any sort of frequency know I like to highlight a special observation or holiday in my intro, and I can assure you that I don't make any of these up. They are all real. And it is with that context that I let you know today is, among other observations, Swap Ideas Day. It couldn't be a more fitting day to hold this webinar. And we're mixing up the format a little. Today, we're all going to be eavesdropping on an interview between the CEO of Thrive Home Builders and the CEO of Green Builder Media. They're going to explore how Thrive is taking health in the home to new levels since Thrive adopted health as one of its 3 brand pillars 5 years ago. Understandably, the pandemic has created heightened consumer awareness around health in the home, and changing consumer expectations are placing new demands on building professionals and manufacturers alike. We'll get important insights into how Thrive, a leading builder of healthy, high-performance homes, is adapting to this new reality. First, let me introduce you to Gene Myers. He is the CEO and founder of Thrive Home Builders, a 6-time winner of the Department of Energy's Grand Award for Innovation and the first production builder to deliver solar standard homes, build net zero communities, and use Colorado beetle kill lumber in the construction of its homes. Gene is making his webinar series debut today, and it's about time we had him on here because I can personally attest that he is one of the home building industry's preeminent leaders in sustainability. Now, you know the co-founder and CEO of Green Builder Media. It's Sarah Gutterman. Sarah has established a reputation as a visionary thought leader and passionate advocate for sustainability, and she works closely with a diverse group of stakeholders in the building industry to develop impactful, long-term green strategies that are simultaneously sustainable and profitable. Now, we have a number of sponsors for this webinar series. The first one I'll mention is Goodman Manufacturing. A member of Daikin Group, Goodman is the largest manufacturer of heating, ventilation, and air conditioning products for residential and commercial use. As the North American leader in HVAC, they are focused on design, engineering, and manufacturing of sustainable products that have helped millions of owners achieve reliable, high quality, and affordable indoor comfort. Our next sponsor is Trane by Trane Technologies, a global climate innovator. They create comfortable, energy-efficient indoor environments for commercial and residential applications. Trane Solutions optimize indoor environments with a broad portfolio of energy-efficient heating, ventilating, and air conditioning systems, building and contracting services, parts support, and advanced control. For more information, please visit www.trane.com or www.tranetechnologies.com. Providing additional support for today's webinar are DOE, Team Zero, the Structural Insulated Panel Association, and EBA. Now, even though we'll be listening in on an interview, you'll also get a chance to conduct a mini interview of our guest. Simply use the questions box on the right side of your screen. I'll review those questions and pose them to Gene during the Q&A time set aside after Sarah and Gene are finished. Sarah, I'll hand things over to you.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Mike. Gene, what a pleasure to have you on our webinar series today. Not only, as Mike said, are you a pathfinder in the industry, but you're also a dear friend. And it's always such a pleasure for me to sit down and have a conversation with you. And I'm really looking forward to today's conversation. For those of you on listening in on today's webinar who do not know Gene, he's got an extensive set of credentials and awards that he's won with Thrive Builders, but I think the thing that impresses me the most about Gene is his authentic and genuine and total commitment to delivering high-performance, healthy homes for his home buyers at an affordable price. And, you know, I think that there are a lot of people in the building industry doing lots of great things, but I think you're as genuine and authentic, Gene, as it gets out there. And I know as your friend and as your colleague, I'm always looking to you for ideas and inspiration and leadership. I'm always looking to you to learn about new ways that we can augment the health and the performance of our built environment and homes. And so first of all, thank you for that leadership and for that passion and commitment. I have a lot of questions, particularly around Healthy Home, so that we can really kind of try to do a deep dive into your vision and your plan and your strategy and what you're doing with Thrive. But before we dive into those questions, can you just give us a very brief overview of Thrive? And you have kind of a long and illustrious history, but for those who aren't familiar with you, can you just give us, just a brief overview?
Well, I am getting old, and so it is a long history, but first of all, thanks for all the kind words. And I always say that we look better from the outside than we do from the inside. And so we're a builder like any other builder, any other high-performance builder, where we wake up every morning and we hope everything went right. Sometimes it doesn't. And so we're definitely mortals and share in the struggles and the wins and accomplishments of our fellow builders. And then I'd also like to just do a shout out before we get started, if you don't mind, Sarah. EBA and Team Zero are near and dear to my heart. Many in the audience know that Team Zero and EBA just accomplished a merger of sorts. And I'm really grateful to the people that have supported our organizations, these nonprofit organizations over the years. And today's sponsors really come to mind. Goodman has been a loyal supporter of Team Zero and of EBA for many years. And a lot of the curriculum that we've developed for training at EBA was as a result of their support. And then Train is also just a loyal supporter. And if we don't have manufacturers who will give back to the industry through these nonprofits, they don't get to exist. So I couldn't be happier to be here as a result of the sponsorship of Train and Goodman and also of DOE. DOE has been a huge resource for us. All of the great work in the national labs over the decades that we've been able to access, and our friends at NREL and PNNL and Oak Ridge, and it's just great to be here. So sorry, I probably took some editorial license there, but so Thrive is a private builder. We're employee owned, and we're in Denver, Colorado. We build a couple of hundred houses a year. We have three legs to our brand: efficient, healthy, and local. Efficient stands for energy efficiency. And we've been on this energy efficiency journey for decades, since 1992. And what I often say is we've made all the mistakes. And so it really helps us hone our product offering for our customers because we've kind of figured out what works and what doesn't. And everything that we do, we strive to make sure that it's a strong value proposition for our customers, because if no one buys our houses, we don't get to do it again. So that's part of what we've learned. And then in 2015, as was mentioned in the introduction, we added health to our brand. And my big joke is that people thought I was crazy in 2015 to add health to it. And now they think I'm a genius, but the real truth of the matter is I am a little crazy. And so the joke's on them. But surely today, after all we've been through as a society, surely today we understand that health actually starts in the home and on how we live and where we live. And so it's a really important brand pillar. And then finally, local is the third leg of our brand. And in the Denver market, it's really dominated by big public builders. And I have a friend who grows tomatoes for Whole Foods, and I asked him the question, are they organic? And he said, no, but they're local. And Whole Foods cares more about local than anything. And we think our customers care about local, that actually being here in the community and understanding what our customers think is important is a really important brand pillar. So we really built the company on the shoulders of the pioneers on energy efficiency and high performance, initially starting out with Energy Star and then sort of graduating up the ladder to Zero Energy Ready Home with DOE. And part of that Zero Energy Ready Home requirement is compliance with EPA Indoor Air Plus. And so I think we started in on that about 2009, and we really started to promote it in 2015. And for any builders who are out there in the audience today that are trying to figure out where do I start to adapt to this health conscious world, I would really suggest EPA Indoor Air Plus is the place to start. It's hard science. It's based on reality. It's not what I call skull and crossbones marketing. It is legitimate building science designed to really help our customers. So is that enough? Is that enough overview, do you think, Sarah?
That's wonderful. Thank you, Gene. I appreciate it. So let's switch gears a little bit. You kind of riffed a little bit on our theme for the day, which is Healthy Home. As you know, Gene, we track a lot of market trends through Cognition Smart Data, which is Green Builder Media's suite of market intelligence and data services. I always like to give a little plug for Cognition and share a little bit of the data that we're tracking. In a recent consumer survey, and granted, we reach millions of early adopter and first mover consumers, so be mindful of the source, but 90% of respondents, and we had a lot of respondents, but 90% said that indoor air quality and healthy home was either extremely important or very important. And they feel that having a healthy home is at this point just a fundamental homeowner right. And this one is really interesting. In this same survey, our early adopter and first mover consumers indicated that healthy home and related decisions around healthy home has become as important as location when making home buying decisions. And that's never happened before. We've been asking questions of our audience for 16 years since our inception. And, only recently has the concept of healthy home really emerged to a point where it's one of the main purchase drivers, at least for our early adopter and first mover consumer audience. So I'm curious to hear, Dean, kind of pre-pandemic and certainly kind of, we'll say mid-pandemic, as I think we are right now. Tell us a little bit about how you are seeing the concept of healthy home change and evolve and really emerge as a leading decision-making factor and purchase driver within your target audience and your home buyer set.
Well, a good friend, Dave Roseberry from Owens Corning, taught me a lot about marketing. And one of the first things he taught me was, who are you trying to talk to, and who is your customer? And we have it's really a vast generalization because we have a lot of different kinds of people who buy our homes. But our marketing voice is really aimed at a 35-year-old woman who drives a Prius, shops at Whole Foods, and has boulder-like tendencies. And I often I remember saying that in Philadelphia one time, and people in Philadelphia laughed at what a boulder-like tendency was. But we're really serious that, women buy houses, and the green consumer revolution has really been led by women of higher than average educational levels, between 30 and 40 years old. And their primary driver is to do all they can for the people they love. And so when we think about health as an attribute of our homes, all we're really doing is coming alongside of her and what she's already decided is so important. We think she's an able CEO of the family. We think she has made it her personal goal to make sure that all of her family members are healthy. And I think that's why she's cruising the aisles at Whole Foods and Vitamin Cottage and buying essential oils and all kinds of products, some of them of even dubious value, but the fact is it's all driven by this very authentic and legitimate concern that she has. The most important thing in her life is the people she loves, and she wants to take good care of them. Well, health in the home is just right down that alley. And you know, when we've been talking leading up to this, we talked about just this classic builder concern that if I spend more money on something like health, people won't pay for it. All they want is a granite countertop or a quartz countertop or hardwood floors or whatever. And we don't think that's true if you can get to the level of what your customer really cares most about. And we think you can elevate the conversation with your customers by explaining that there actually is something that can be done in the purchase of a home that will help her accomplish her goal of caring for the people she loves the most. So, you know, we use an image in our design and technology studio of our 35-year-old woman is feeding a little girl in a high chair. And the caption goes something like this, that the food she eats is just as important as the air she breathes. And that's a way of explaining that, you know, we think a lot about the food that comes into our bodies, but we don't think very much about the air that also comes into our bodies. And when we can start to have that kind of a conversation with a customer, we know that our message resonates with people. I think a lot of builder marketing is about sex appeal and pizzazz, and I don't think at least our customers in our niche, they're actually hardened to all of that. As consumers, we're bombarded with glitz and glamour, and what they're looking for is authenticity, and we can provide that authenticity. That's why I'm such a fan of the federal programs like EPA Endure Plus and Zero Energy Ready Home, is that they're based on authentic, factual, scientific basis. And so that's a big part of our authenticity.
Thanks, Gene. And in fact, speaking of the DOE, our good mutual friend Sam Raskin, chief architect of the DOE, tells me that we ingest 7 times more air than food and water every day. And so your point about making sure that we're paying attention to whether or not the air in our homes and the built environment in general is healthy is, you know, paramount. Are you seeing a shift in either the way that your home buyers are perceiving healthy homes, or an increased level of just interest in adoption since the onset of the pandemic, or because you're already reaching a fairly sophisticated audience, is it kind of status quo for you and for Thrive?
Well, we think that there is a heightened awareness, and to be honest with you, pre-pandemic, we kind of had to connect the dots between home and health for our customers, because it's not something that's particularly intuitive to people. And, you know, I think what we battle, and what any high-performance builder battles, is this consumer perception that all homes are created equal. And, well, you know, they all meet the building code, right? And so a significant part of our message has to be that all homes are not created equal, and that, in fact, that code-built home is the worst home that you can legally build today. And is that really what you want to buy when you could buy a home that goes so far beyond the minimum requirements? As our friend Sam often says, if you buy a code minimum home today, it'll be obsolete in 2 or 3 years when the next code adoption happens. And for a product that should last over 100 years, you'd hate to be obsolete after year 3. So I think that's an important message, and we get the opportunity to explain a lot of this through our web presence. And honestly, we were talking earlier, sometimes it's hard to get through the list of everything on the sales floor. And I think today our buyers are doing so much research online that when they come to us, they're already plugged in and tuned into what we build. But then the change that happened during the shutdown and thereafter, it's I have to be honest and say a lot of it's fear. And we have situations where very young buyers will come in and say, Mom and Dad told me that I have to get out of this apartment. And they'll co-sign on the loan and help me with the down payment. And so what is that? Well, that is a reaction to the sense that we're unsafe when we can't really control our environment. And I think that's a lot of what's driving the crazy housing market that we have today, along with very low interest rates. But the health piece of it, it's not just about getting a new home where you don't worry about somebody else's germs or a non-defensible space around you to socially distance. We can take it to the next level and explain to people that we can do a better job than just any new home. I have to throw out that I changed my furnace filters yesterday, and they're black from all of the smoke that we've had here in the West from the forest fires. And you know, it's one thing to say, well, that didn't get on my furniture and it didn't get on my stuff, but it didn't get in my lungs. And that's really just a marker for everything that can come into our bodies through the air that we breathe. And that's where EPA Indoor Air Plus and just indoor air quality in general is so critical. We think the Indoor Air Plus label gives us credibility when we talk about this to customers. And that's a lot of what a customer's trying to do, is to sift through the marketing shtick and get to the facts and get to credible product differentiators. And that's what we love the federal certifications for.
Yeah. So I want to, ask you about what Thrive is doing specifically to address surging interest in healthy homes and indoor air quality, and ask you a little bit more about the Indoor Air Plus program. But before I do, I want to ask you one last question that's a little bit more general about, kind of shifting consumer expectations that are placing demands on builders and manufacturers and other, folks in the building industry. Again, going back to some of the trends that we're tracking with Cognition Smart data, which I know you're seeing as well, include kind of a flight from denser urban areas to secondary and tertiary markets. And maybe those are, kind of medium density outer suburbs, inner suburbs or outer suburbs. It might translate also into, kind of more rural areas as well. But I think that along with that comes this, some different preferences that tie into general health and wellness trends. We're seeing, a big interest in a connection with nature and in communities that have amenities like walking trails and open spaces. And I actually wanted to bring this up in particular because in a recent conversation, you mentioned to me that one of your communities that actually has a community garden is one of your fastest selling communities, particularly because of that amenity. The buyers wanted to be able to have the ability to grow their own food, partly for, kind of that local, healthy component, but also, as I mentioned, through Cognition, we're tracking, there's an element of kind of self-sufficiency and security that comes with being able to, grow your own food. So again, this definition of healthy home is evolving and expanding beyond what used to be fairly myopically focused on indoor air quality, maybe, furniture and paints and other products that don't off-gas and, aren't toxic. But now it's really evolving even beyond that. So any thoughts or comments along those lines before we switch gears and talk about Thrive programs?
Well, there's no question that people are buying location and community, and to the extent that we can reinforce that health message in the community, it makes a huge difference. The project you were referring to is a townhome project in Wheat Ridge that's adjacent to a community garden, And that has been a factor in people's decisions to buy. But what's been interesting is through the lockdown, we had a piece of land under contract, and we really got nervous in the middle of the lockdown, but we ended up going forward. And you're familiar with this project in Fort Collins called Water's Edge. And it's got some very interesting features that address our post-COVID mentality that I believe is out there with the consumer. First off, it's targeted to older people, and the notion here is let's keep people in their homes as long as possible. This death rate in the communal living situations for the elderly is just shocking, and we have to do a better job as a society in housing and sheltering and caring for older people than what we've done. I mean, we don't look very good as a society on how we've done that. And so we're designing these homes for aging in place. And yet we don't think that the target market is an 85-year-old on a walker who wants to not go to a nursing home. They're like me, you know, these buyers are boomers like me that we're in denial about it. And so we need functional offices, and we need a place to carry on a vibrant lifestyle while preparing for those great needs that this pandemic has exposed in our housing. In addition to recreational facilities and walking trails and abundant open space and community gardens, access to waterfront, so many things that we think that customer will be drawn to. And we think health is the number one thing, because as you age, you're a little bit more aware of your mortality and what you could do to address that mortality. And then finally, we even think that our energy efficiency is of keen importance to aging families, because as people move to a fixed income, they love the idea of fixing their expenses. And so our whole package of all we've worked on for all these decades really is, I feel, coming into its own as a result of the pandemic. And I think the things we have felt were so important for so many years, our customers are beginning to see, oh, wait a minute, that is really important. And it's really a great joy to connect with the needs of the people that you're building for. And I know our team feels it keenly every day, especially out there on the sales floor, on the front lines of the company.
Yes. Well, as they say, 60 is the new 30, and certainly as we're looking at the cost benefit of aging in place, and now assisted living technologies, as we like to call, smart home technologies that have fall detectors and, all of the various different smart home components that can help keep people in their homes for longer. We're showing that, it makes sense to invest once in those assisted living technologies as opposed to have that ongoing cost for being in an assisted living facility. So certainly we've reached that tipping point. Now shifting gears as promised, Thrive has some pretty interesting programs that you're rolling out to address healthy homes. So can you talk to us about those, please?
Well, for years now, all of our homes have come with the EPA Indoor Air Plus certification, and as a part of our standard, we've done some things above that standard. Colorado is just notoriously a hot radon zone, and so all of our homes have come with active radon ventilation, and so whether it's an affordable townhome in Denver, City of Denver's affordable program, or one of our market rate homes, they all come with those attributes, as well as DOE Zero Energy Ready. In the midst of the lockdown, I'm thinking, well, what else, should we be doing, and could we be doing, and at what price could we actually deliver that to our customers? And so in absorbing a lot of the very recent research on the coronavirus, well, what if someone in the family had that, and how do you really isolate them without sending them to a really dangerous place like a hospital? And so whole house HEPA filtration is something that we have adopted as an option that can be included in our homes. We've also, I think this is pretty brand new information, but there appears to be a correlation between humidity and the amount of life that the coronavirus can have on a surface. And if your surfaces are super dry or super moist, that virus seems to live longer. It's more viable as a pathogen. And the sweet spot appears to be somewhere between 40 and 60% relative humidity, which scares a high-performance builder who builds tight houses, because we've seen humidity as potentially the enemy from a mold standpoint. But we think we can be on the lower end of that scale and address that. And even if that research doesn't turn out to be true, I mean, this is all moving very quickly. But here's what we know. Our bodies do a better job of fighting off pathogens with a little bit of humidity. And for all those of us who live in the West, you wake up in the morning and your nose is like dry as a bone, and those mucous membranes and your lungs really don't work as well as filtering these things out unless you have some minimal level of humidity to help them be healthy. So we feel confident that that is an important step. We've moved to features like faucets that you can just operate with a touch of the back of your hand. Active radon monitoring. This we didn't think this was even technologically feasible a couple of years ago, but we've run across a startup from Finland who actually has accurate real-time radon monitoring, so that my dream someday is that we can get the inputs from indoor air quality monitors, radon monitors, even fault indicators from HVAC equipment, that we can receive that and proactively come back into the home months or years after people close to just make sure that they really are receiving the benefits that they bought from us when they bought a Thrive home.
Thanks, Gene. And tell us a little bit more about your 1% for Health program, how you're kind of packaging it all together and messaging it in a way that you feel will be compelling for home buyers with respect to paying more for healthy home features.
Well, so what you're always worried about is, does the buyer see the value in what you do and what you're delivering? And it's tough to sell options for high performance options. And we've learned that over the years with doing standard solar versus optional solar. And so as we were working through this, it occurred to me that what we're asking our customers is to pay 1% more. So if our average house is about $500,000, we're looking at around $5,000. And the question is, would you pay 1% more for health? And right back to how does that relate to our customer? Would you pay 1% more to know that you've done all you can to protect the people you love? And we think that our customers, we think that resonates with our customers because, all of our consumers are used to paying for, they have to make value judgments on all the consumer products that they buy. And if people just cared about cost, Mercedes would not have a market and Beamers wouldn't be around, and Land Cruisers and Land Rovers would not be on the highways. Our customers are looking not just for differentiation, but for a higher quality. And if we can demonstrate credibly what that higher quality is, people will pay it. Now, we were discussing earlier in preparation for this about a builder's objection that, well, people just won't pay for these things. You know, I got to have the quartz countertop and the hardwood floors and all of that, and I'm not willing to pay for any of this other stuff. Well, as I mentioned earlier, if we can raise the plane on which we're communicating with our customers from a want to a need, and from aesthetics to functionality, credible, authentic functionality for a better home, there isn't a builder in the country that isn't accustomed to receiving 10% more for their base house just in customer upgrades and selections. And so if a customer really can't afford that extra 1%, we're asking him to just spend 9% on the fun stuff, the fluffy stuff that goes into a house. And let's spend that 1% on things that matter and that will really pay off over the long term for the family. And so, so much of this resistance, I think, to the cost of high performance is just misguided. Customers always pay more than the base price. And this is just helping them reorient their dollars to things that will really improve their lives over the longer haul.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting because, you know, when you think about an energy efficiency message, you know, in some ways that can, you know, be streamlined and super effective if you're looking at dollars and cents and cost savings for a higher performance house. With health at home, though, you know, you're definitely appealing to a set of personal values and emotions. And I really like what you said earlier, in terms of at least your home buyers really wanting to do everything they can to protect those that they love and their families within their homes. And fortunately, at this point, you know, there's really a broad option of offerings, many of which are actually at price parity with conventional offerings, whether it's, you know, kind of holistic HVAC indoor air quality solutions offered by companies like Trane, or you know, ductless mini split systems that are offered by Goodman and Daikin, antimicrobial surfaces, as you said, touchless faucets, voice automated locks and sensors, all of the, you know, integrated smart home technology systems. I know we've talked about bidets and Japanese washing toilets, you know, to kind of protect folks from germs and elevate sanitation. Are you finding that there's more demand for certain types of solutions at this point than others, that, you know, certain things are taken off more, or is it really just more about, you know, kind of a holistic educational process, starting with air filtration, proper ventilation, and fresh air exchange, all the way through to, you know, some of those other types of products?
Well, you know, back to the earlier part of your question, I'm really blessed to have my son working with me, Stephen, and many of the people on the call will know him. And he makes the point that on the sales floor, we've always had to educate the customer about why they should care about energy efficiency and make the economic case of total cost of ownership, et cetera, et cetera. We don't have to make the connection with our customers that health is important. They come to us with that. That's a part of their daily life, whether they're buying organic food or growing their own food, as you were mentioning. This is and the whole diet craze and all the things we're doing to try to be healthy. We find our customers are hungry for the message about what they can do for increased health in their home. And, you know, one of the great things is that unlike a diet or exercise, all the customer has to do is make the right decision at the beginning, and the house is going to do all the work for them going forward, assuming that it's properly maintained, which is a whole nother topic. But anyway, I think that that's a key differentiator between our sales approach for energy efficiency and our sales approach for health. We don't have to make the case that they should be concerned about health because they walk in the door already very concerned about health. And then as to what resonates more with the customer, you know, I've struggled with this all my career, and don't claim to have it completely answered right, but we've gone to more of a package approach and not split these things out to where someone can choose, well, do I want a MERV 8 filter or a MERV 13 filter, or do I want an ERV, or do I want a exhaust ventilation, or any of those bits and pieces. And, you know, an analogy we often use is, well, so here's your iPhone. You know, what processor did you want? What camera did you want? I mean, the bottom line is the customer just loves their iPhone. And to a degree, we're falling back on that in our design and technology studio, even for things like tile and flooring and cabinets and all of the customer selections that have to be made. At one time, we were managing 22,000 SKUs in our design center. And the odds of getting the house built right and on time, and for that tile to not be on a boat somewhere on the way between here and Italy, instead of in the warehouse, it was just too complicated. And we've gone to a package approach even on our most expensive products. And we generally find that our customers appreciate the fact that we did the thinking for them on the iPhone. And all they have to do is decide which iPhone. And that's the approach that we're taking with health as well. You mentioned the Japanese washing toilets. Our base health package includes pre-wiring for that, because that's the pain, is just getting an electrical outlet nearby the toilet. And then our upgrade actually includes washing toilets for sanitation purposes. So, and you know, those are sold out around the country. And so it's clear that it's not just us thinking that maybe customers are concerned about that. And I don't think it's just about what happens if I didn't hoard enough toilet paper. I really think there's a concern about how can we be more careful, more clean, not transfer pathogens one to another. And that's what this hand washing thing's all about. And so we think those things really matter. But we've taken more of a package approach.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and I can chime in on the Japanese washing toilet. I have one, and my husband has told me that I can never change toilets again because of all the wiring, the special wiring that it takes. So that's not trivial. I can certainly understand it. So just a couple more questions until we open it up for questions from attendees. Jean, you know, clearly, you know, we have all been impacted in some way by COVID. And, you know, clearly COVID has increased our awareness about health and wellness, healthy homes, washing our hands, sanitation. And I do think that that's going to create long-term systemic change in our general lifestyles, certainly in the building industry and specifically in the housing sector. With respect to healthy homes and indoor air quality, how do you, what do you predict in terms of that long-term systemic change with respect to, you know, kind of healthy homes? How is that going to continue to evolve and impact, you know, building professionals, manufacturers, and other folks in our sector into the future?
Well, you know, I think I was on a call with Sam Rashkin, and he asked the question, how many months until we get back to normal? And, you know, my response was, what's normal? I don't think we're going back to what the prior definition of normal would be. And I think these are permanent changes. And, you know, you and I have talked about our mission is to set a new standard for how home improves life. And life just got a lot more complicated in 2020. And it's not going to instantly become uncomplicated, because even if we get a vaccine, I think there's a kind of a scar on our psyches that this can happen. I mean, I didn't think this could ever happen. This is an old Spanish flu kind of a thing that we're going through, that I just thought we were so far past that. And I think that in the mind's eye of our consumers, that this is not going to go away. And which, by the way, I think is great news for high performance builders. In many ways, I believe that the market has come around to high performance builders who've been laboring almost in anonymity. Is such a little tiny segment of the industry, but the customers are ready. The consumer is ready for what high performance builders build and the homes that we deliver, and the genuine value that we put into the houses. Does it cost more to build a better house? Yes, it does. But we have very sophisticated consumers. Our American consumer is a world-class consumer. We know how to buy things. We can smell a scam. We can smell just marketing hype. And I really believe that customers are ready, willing, able, and will continue to be into the future to learn about the materially better houses that can be built out there in the country. And, I'm so happy, Sarah, that you and Ron have worked all these years in mass media to tell the world about these things that can be done. I think for manufacturers, I mentioned before, a lot of this advancement is because of the generosity of manufacturers in supporting the advancement of home building in America. But we need better products and we need cheaper products. And as the demand goes up and the potential of scaling up high performance features in homes happens, I hope we can bring costs down. Because very honestly, who needs what we do more than a low-income family? And with the dynamic of ever more expensive housing in America, we're failing that part of our population if we can't find a way, even in spite of rampant lumber price increases, all of the dynamics that we're facing now. We have to find a way to deliver health and durability and high performance and energy efficiency to people up and down the scale of home buying consumers. It's a high calling, and it's one of the things that gets me up out of bed every day, because the world needs builders that will build the kind of homes that Thrive builds and that so many other high performance builders build, that EBA builders build. And I think the time has come for builders like us to step up and to meet the demand and to show the industry and the consumer that we're there. We can build for them the house they need. That they might not have known they needed it, but they do now. And we can step up and build those homes for the American home buying consumer. And it's exciting. It's, perhaps it's another of these silver linings that are coming out of the COVID pandemic, that maybe our home buyers are beginning to understand what really, really matters in a home. And I'm glad to be a little bitty part of it.
Well, Gene, the industry is certainly better off because you are in it. So thank you so much for your leadership and for your passion. I think what I would like to do now is to hand things back to Mike to open the conversation up for questions from the attendees. But Gene, I just want to say thank you so much, certainly for your time today, but also just for your entire body of work. It speaks for itself. All of your awards and accolades speak for themselves. And, thank you for your leadership.
Thanks, Sarah.
Yes, Gene, we do have some questions. So I'm going to go ahead and start with one from Roberto. He said that, one of your pillars that you talked about early in the conversation was local. But Roberto's wanting to know, how are you defining local? And what percentage of the materials from rough to finish are truly local?
Well, it's not just about materials for us. Being a local builder means that we give back to our community and that we care about the concerns of our community. You know, in the midst of the lockdown, it occurred to me that we had really no job losses and no pay cuts, and we were an essential industry. Our people stepped up in such an amazing way, especially our people on the front lines in the trenches on construction. And I have so much admiration for our team and the way it's behaved through this difficult time. But we had a conversation. We're an open book management company. We make the big decisions together. And I just asked, you know, with so many people hurting in our community, should we be doing more on philanthropy? And that's a big part of being local. To me, it's not about a head count of where did the drywall come from, or where did the paint come from, or the flooring. To us, it's being a legitimate contributing member of our local community. The image that I think is one of the images that's been scrolling through this presentation shows a stack of beetle kill lumber. And, you know, years ago, it was a tragedy. What were we going to do with all of these dead forests? And we developed a supply chain to bring structurally rated lumber down from Colorado's mountains. And that's what we still build our houses with. And that's something that our customers appreciate. If, you know, our customers go to the mountains and they get a little ill when they see the extent of the pine beetle infestation. And I remember our marketing director, Susan Elevitz, came up with a great caption of a browned out forest. And it was just a question, can anything good come from this? And the answer was yes, we can build houses from trees that already died. Yes, we can harvest these trees and we can replenish these watersheds. Yes, we can get this fuel out of the forest, and we can make the forest more resilient and not as susceptible to the fires that we're dealing with right now in the West. And so that's a local sensitivity that we're pretty sure that a lot of our big public competitors just don't even know that customers actually care about that. And so I would say that local to us is more of a philosophy of understanding what's important in our community and being contributing members to that community, being part of the solution rather than part of the problem.
All right, we got a couple of questions from Deborah. First, she wanted to confirm, do you in fact go back to your clients after they've lived in the homes for a while and survey them about their experience?
Well, we have, and you know, one of the really telling things is a study that the Pacific Northwest National Lab has done for people who purchase high performance homes, and they've gone back in and measured what's the difference between a high performance home and a not high performance home in terms of indoor air quality. And it's really helping us understand that we got to do a much better job in the mechanical room of explaining what all the gadgets are in there, how they work, what they do. How often do we need a furnace filter change? What is the furnace filter? What size is it? Where do I get it? And something that we're working on right now is the concept of a 10-year bumper-to-bumper warranty, where we would be back in the homes once or twice a year to actually do the maintenance in the homes that needs to be done to make sure that 10 years on, that the buyer is still getting the benefit of the extra money they paid for the home they live in. And we're working on this in collaboration with the EBA Builder Benchmark Group. Todd Usher is a good friend in the business, and he's done a lot of work on this. And it's becoming clear to us that the customer relationship, you know, home builders can't wait to get rid of their customers. They just want to give them a 1-year warranty and dust off their hands and say goodbye. And we might be the only industry I know of that doesn't aspire to holding that customer for life. And clearly we've got a lot of work to do to come up with an economic model that makes that make sense. But what if we were the builder that had the referral base from customers who were telling their friends and neighbors, hey, our builder was in here, it's been 6 years since we closed. They told us that we had a problem with our radon monitor and came in and made it right. We think there's a powerful market demand that could be unleashed by acting that responsibly. And as I was sharing with Sarah, if we could just find a way to break even on it, I think we would really prosper just on the referral business that we would get from being the builder that stands behind its product. So we see it as a huge opportunity to stay in touch with and engage with our customers.
Well, to that point, Gene, Diane sent in a question that says, Thrive checks all the boxes for this baby boomer. How do I get a Thrive home in Sacramento, California?
Well, the baby boomers are easy. All these years, all I've had to do is design stuff that I liked because the baby boomers have been such a dynamic part of the market. But what we're finding is that, I think there was a picture of one of our townhome models that I don't really like the decorating, but it really appeals to millennials. And so I'm learning that I can't just design things for baby boomers anymore, but go to the website and Scott will talk to you and we'd love to build a home for you.
All right, I want to get to some other questions too. Actually, I had one for you, Gene. Do you think that there's a particular building practice or technique that has been rendered obsolete due to the pandemic?
Well, I was thinking about this. You sprung this question on me yesterday, and I've made excellent mental progress on this response. And it's not so much a building practice, but it's a practice that all builders do. It's a sales and marketing practice. And I think what's become obsolete is to sit around waiting for people to come to your models. We've been on this journey as an industry of what do we do with social media and the web and internet sales and all of these things. And again, the pandemic has pushed us into a real acceleration of the trend that was already there. And I think it's really great news for a high performance builder because our message, our marketing message is actually very complicated. And people can go deep on their own time in sync with their own level of interest in health or energy efficiency or net zero energy or just is it a great floor plan and where's the location, all the things that home buyers in general need to know. And so, I have to be honest that I am a digital non-native, and it's taken me a really long time to grasp that this is actually a meaningful and important trend. And I'm so grateful for Susan and Stuart in our marketing department that have dragged me along with them into the 21st century and given us that all these opportunities to engage with our potential customers and on Instagram and Facebook. And I'm learning that only people my age look at Facebook, and if you're younger, you better be on Instagram. And this picture works better to drive engagement than that picture. It's just shocking how deep you can go. And yet this is a dream come true for a high performance builder, because for someone that really wants to go deep on the building science behind what we do, guess what? It is science, and we can go there with you if you want. We're pretty sure people don't want to go there on the sales floor, but in the virtual sales floor, we have the opportunity to really explain what makes us different and better.
So we've got a variety of topics to hit on in the questions that have come in. So apologize in advance if it seems like it's kind of scattered shot, but I want to go to a question that was sent in from Deborah asking, are you focusing, being Thrive, on going all electric?
We think that is the future. We were just talking a few days ago, Sarah and I were just talking a few days ago about this Water's Edge community. And it is definitely something that Fort Collins wants to happen. We have a new series of homes, Vitality, that's just opened in Central Park, which is the new name for the Stapleton development that we've been in for many years. And it is all electric. It has an all electric option. You know, for a long time, for our net zero homes, the heating and cooling was all electric anyway, with air-to-air heat pumps. And it's to the point, I think, where we've kind of overcome a lot of the building and technical barriers, but we're pretty sure a lot of buyers still want that huge gas range that they've seen on the Food Network, and we need to give them the option of let's give induction cooking a try, and we think you'll be just as satisfied. And I have to be honest, I was in the new model for the series I was talking about, and the electric fireplace is tough for me. It's just really tough. You can make it blue, you can make it green, and it's just doing things the fireplace shouldn't have to do. And so anyway, I think a lot of this is going to come down to consumer acceptance of the substitute products that we're accustomed to. And you know, the hearth is, there's something symbolic and almost embedded in our DNA that a hearth is connected with home and comfort and safety and security. And turns out a hearth is not the fuel we're burning is not good. It's not good for us, and it's not good for the world. And hopefully we can help customers overcome that and get to market acceptance of all electric homes.
You know, Gene, you mentioned Water's Edge. Barry wanted to know, when do you anticipate Water's Edge coming online?
We think we'll have lots in about July of next year, and then we'll start construction then. It's been shocking to me. We've had great interest from universities that want to work with us. There's been an awful lot of work in academia about living well, you know, from MIT to Georgetown to CU and DU and CSU. And I think we're going to end up with some academic partners that can help us really be on the leading edge of what it means. It's not the end for people. It's the beginning of a really important and vibrant stage. And shame on our society if we think that we're just going to put people out to pasture when they have so much to give. And in a world where you can work from anywhere, we need homes that work for that. In a world where maybe we'll have self-driving cars that can deal with the mobility problems of aging. I hope that what we have is a generation, and perhaps the boomers are going to be this generation, where we redefine what it means to be a contributing member to society for your whole life, with lifelong learning and lifelong teaching and lifelong interaction. And that's what Water's Edge is striving to do, is to make this next chapter for people the best chapter.
You mentioned wellness, and I don't, honestly, I'll admit my ignorance now, Gene. I don't know if you guys work in the Lead for Homes program or not, but the question was sent in about, is there a new credit for Lead or for Well for Homes that has to do with COVID? Do you know by chance if there is something like that, or if it's not, if there's one in the works?
I'm not aware of it, but as to Lead, we are, all of our homes, we might be one of the few production builders in the country that does that. And we do it by virtue of an alternate compliance path that we helped develop with DOE and USGBC. Where basically, if you are a DOE zero energy ready home builder, you're 99% of the way to LEED certification. And a lot of the cumbersome parts of LEED, such as commissioning after people close, and you find out what level you're at after people close, we've been able to deal with that just by using energy raters. And So I really recommend to people to take a hard look at that, because the incremental cost of gaining LEED certification is quite reasonable. I believe that our new model will be LEED Platinum.
Fantastic. Staying on the all-electric theme for just a moment, Diane, who wants you to build her house in Sacramento, wanted to know, with all-electric homes, is an energy storage system, is there an option for that? Because she's seen in California numerous wildfires. You're seeing them in Colorado, other states in the West are seeing them as well, but electricity is being cut off. So an energy storage system would be a really good backup. It would be a great alternative as well to a gas-powered generator. So is that an option with some of these all-electric homes?
So we have, since our Zen 2.0 series, our Panacea series, and now our Vitality series, we offer optional battery storage. And we've done it with partners like Tesla and Sonnen. And we think it's important. Honestly, at least here in Colorado, our grid's a lot more stable on the Front Range than I know it is in California. But what a great potential that we're perilously close to cutting the cord to the grid. And I will say that our battery storage isn't sufficient to just operate your home full blast indefinitely off of solar, but we can certainly, today, we can offer the important backup systems that we need with battery storage and replenishment with solar the next day, and hold that overnight. And so those things include things like refrigeration, heat, lighting, some important lighting staircases and things that you really need to have in a power outage, being able to operate to a significant degree in the kitchen, maybe not full blast again, being able to charge your cell phone and keep your internet running, things like that. So we're there. And it's available to consumers. They just check the box if they want that option.
Gene, I wanted to switch things up just a little bit. We have an existing home question from Tawna. She wanted to know if you can give a flooring material type that is healthy, affordable, durable, and non-toxic after severe water damage destroyed the main floor of their home.
Well, a key part of the EPA Indoor Plus program, I always oversimplify it to, there are really two things. One is use materials that keeps the bad stuff out, like formaldehyde, VOCs, et cetera, and then to properly ventilate. And so any of the EPA Indoor Plus approved flooring materials would work. They're widely available. And the essential standard that EPA Indoor Plus has adopted is CARB 2. And so that's an acronym, the California Air Resources Board 2 standard. And so when you're looking at flooring, look for the CARB 2 label, and you'll have a safe, non-outgassing flooring option. And they don't have to be expensive to have that label.
Okay. We had a very specific question from Deborah. She was wondering about your standard range hood fan. How many CFM? Can you give a little bit of the details of that? And also, do you emphasize range hood efficiency in your marketing?
Well, I'm not sure how much we emphasize it in marketing, but we have learned a lot about range hoods over the last few years. Now, why would that be? Well, for the uninitiated, the range hood is the biggest fan in your house. And your HVAC system really ought to know if it's on or off. And so we've worked with Panasonic on their Cosmos system, where the range hood can communicate to the HVAC, open up the fresh air intakes, and balance the ventilation in the house while the hood is on, which is really important. CFM, you know what? We've learned that the level of CFM is of secondary importance to hood geometry. And by that I mean, what is the capture efficiency of the actual hood as air goes out? And so we've moved to high capture efficiency hoods. And if you'll do that, it will lower the amount of CFM that you need to have in order to have effective ventilation. So we try to stay under the, I think it's a 500 CFM or 300 CFM requirement for separate makeup air, but we are providing makeup air just through the HVAC system on an automated basis. So what I would suggest is, you know, the learning that I got came primarily from Brett Singer from the Lawrence Berkeley National Lab, and look for a hood that actually extends as close to the front edge of the range as possible. Have the number one factor. You know, there are a lot of pretty little vent hoods out there, but they only have about half the coverage of the range below it. So make sure that that cooktop is covered as much as possible by a vent hood, and give it some makeup air so that it can do its job better without a whole lot of CFM required.
Okay. Here's our final question of the day. It's kind of a big picture question. Comes from Eric. He was referencing the social equity and the public health components of the discussion from earlier. He's wondering if reversing the trend towards even larger homes, wouldn't that represent a major mindset transformation? And would the carbon footprint and the associated public health impacts of the increase in the size of the average home, would it perhaps outweigh all the health gains made at the scale of the individual homes that Thrive builds so well?
Well, you know, that is a macro market question. It's what kind of homes do people want to buy? And, you know, I'll be honest with you, I'm less of a crusader than I am a facilitator of delivering the homes our customers want and making them the best that they can be. But the point is well taken. And let me just explain that I believe we're the largest builder in Colorado of for sale affordable homes. And by definition, these are smaller homes, you know, 1,200 to 1,400 square feet, that kind of a range. And there's nothing more satisfying to me than to deliver an EPA Indoor Air Plus, DOE Zero Energy Ready, solar powered, affordable home for someone at 80% of median income. And there's the social equity. There's where we have to drive to affordability in our market so that we can deliver these benefits to people who need them. The question about, well, would that offset what we're doing? I don't know. I don't know. That's a bigger question for me, but here's the answer that Thrive has for the market, and that is no matter what we build, you get a Thrive home, an uncompromising combination of health and energy efficiency. And if you pay us $1 million, we appreciate it. And if you pay us $220,000, we appreciate it. And you know, I hesitate to dive off on this, but Sarah knows this story. I'm an old Peace Corps volunteer, and in my joke on the Peace Corps is I joined the Peace Corps to save the world. It must have worked because we're still here. But reality here is that you come back from the Peace Corps and you're a little disillusioned at all the excess that we have here in America. And you can look at it a couple of different ways. It's either excess or it's just tremendous blessing that's been poured out upon us. But what you figure out is that, well, I guess I wasn't able to change the world, and I guess I couldn't make the difference I thought I could. And over the years, I came to the conclusion that it's not about what I can't do, it's about what I can do. I'm a builder. So therefore, let me build the best house. And let me do the best I can for the customers that we have. And that's more what we are than crusaders, or we're not preaching to people, but we're doing it. And I think we need a lot more doers in this world than people thinking about and editorializing about this or that. And that's what I would encourage our audience is take a good look at where you are and then bloom where you're planted and make the biggest difference you can wherever you are. And if you're just a homeowner trying to make it better, that's great. And if I think there were some .gov people on the audience list, and wherever you are, bloom where you're planted, do the best you can. And if we were all doing that, a lot of these big problems wouldn't be quite so big. So that's what drives us at Thrive, is let's just do all we can.
Well, Gene, I want to thank you very much for sharing your time and your wisdom with us today. And Sarah, for conducting yet another wonderful interview. Thank you both very much.
Well, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks, Gene. Thank you, Mike. And thanks to everyone who attended and stayed with us, even though we went a little bit over. Thank you all.
Yep, thank you to our audience for attending and asking great questions. Thank you to Goodman Manufacturing, Train, DOE, Team Zero, the Structural Insulated Panel Association, and EBA for their generous sponsorship of this webinar series. That concludes the DOE webinar series, but our next webinar will take place on Tuesday, September 22nd at 2 p.m. Eastern. We're going to stick with the health-related topic as we investigate how radiant floor heating enables indoor environmental quality. Steve Swanson from Uponor will join us once again. And finally, before we go, this Sunday is Grandparents' Day. So if you still have grandparents around, make sure to give them a call or send them a card. I'm sure they'd appreciate it. Okay, stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you back here in a couple weeks. Take care.